It's an absolutely ridiculous day in the world of Magic the Gathering. Wizards of the Coast has just been caught false advertising for Modern Horizons 3. And the excuse that they have given is 100% absurdity. This is going to cost them. And on top of that, when it comes to one of the commander decks from Modern Horizons, it has made people very, very angry.
Magic. I am a wizard. History. I'm an old wizard. The magic historian. My bones hurt.
Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles, my friends. I hope the day finds you well because we have gathered for yet another glorious installment of Mega Magic News. Now, this one focuses mostly on Modern Horizons 3 with the anger over the commander deck and the false advertising that is most likely going to cost Wizards some bank like previous times they have ended up getting caught with their false advertising. But we have some other news to talk about, like Wizards of the Coast removing creature types from the game, and as well we have the secret layer bonus card from the Goblin layer, which I actually quite enjoy. I didn't like the rest of the layer, but the bonus card is pretty fun. Now, before we dive into that news, just want to let you know that I have been given early access to a box of Modern Horizons 3. So we're going to be cracking this open Plinko style. There's a thumbnail somewhere on the screen showing you what the live stream looks like. That will be happening later today over on my other YouTube channel. So if you want to see the cards, check out the card quality and all that fun, I will see you over there. The comment section will have a link for you. All right, now that that is out of the way, let's dive into the news. And I feel like we may as well get the smaller news out of the way before we dive into the meat of the Modern Horizons insanity. All right, so smaller news being Ifrits are being retired. So going forwards, there are not going to be any more Ifrit in Magic the Gathering. They're all going to be mishmashed together into djinns. So this for some people will be troubling because they are actually distinctly two different types of mythical beings. But at the end of the day, for me at least, I don't consider this to be a big deal because you want to have more creatures that work together. When you have cards that give boosts like creature lords and things like that, all creatures like this get +1/+1. Making a card that says all djinn and Ifrits get +1/+1 is more clunky, takes up more word space, and considering that Wizards is cramming 1,000,000 words on each card nowadays, you can see why they're doing it. It doesn't really feel like Magic loses much from making this change. So that is fairly minor news. The other thing I want to talk about before we dive into Modern Horizons 3 is the fun Thrun that is the bonus card from the stupid Goblin Secret Lair, which by the way hasn't sold out at all. The Hatsune Miku Secret Lair sold out at light speed. There are people still lamenting to this day about how they missed out on that drop. But things like the Goblin, look at me, I'm taking a picture of myself with the camera, that Secret Lair has flopped horrifically. But the bonus card, which I'm going to put up on the screen right now, is actually a fair bit of fun. This is Thrun the Last Troll. If you didn't see the original Secret Lair, it's done in this social media style. It's Goblin Instagram, right? So basically, Thrun has comments on every single other card. Like he's trolling them, calling them ugly and all this kind of nonsense. So on this, you can see nobody is interacting with Thrun's own posts. And the flavor text is talking about, he's like, ain't nobody able to ban me off this website. So I have to give Wizards credit from the perspective of they actually did capture the essence of a curmudgeonly troll that nobody's interacting with, gets their account banned, but ends up coming right back. So that is a little bit of fun. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk about the Modern Horizons ridiculousness. We'll start out by talking about the commander deck that has people pretty worked up, and understandably so. First of all, the 4 set of commander decks that they're doing with this modern set, they don't really come charging out of the gate as anything amazing. Obviously, they're leaning on things like Sliver and Eldrazi, and the Eldrazi deck features like a dozen Eldrazi. It's not nearly as loaded with Eldrazi as you would expect it to be, but it definitely does feature some insane cards, and it definitely does bring Annihilator back to Obnoxious Town. But at the end of the day, the deck that's really getting people worked up is the Graveyard Overdrive deck. Now, I don't know if changes were made at the last minute to this deck, but the face card of this deck is Disa, and her ability is based on Lurgoyfs. Lurgoyfs being actually a really fun creature type from the oldest days of Magic, back in Ice Age, where you had the Lurgoyf, and it's out in the frozen waste, eating a corpse, like just drawing it into its crazy distended mouth. It's 4 mana for a 0/1 that gets +1/+1 for every creature in the graveyard, which is ultimately, especially by today's standards, underwhelming. But the flavor on it is absolutely unmatched, right? The flavor text said, Hans, run! It's the Lurgoyf! And this has spawned multiple cards, and actually they wrote a story about it. Later on, Hans got his own card. So Lurgoyfs are kind of an honored tradition in Magic the Gathering, but they come through very infrequently, right? Tarmogoyf being the most well-known Goyf, although I expect that's going to change over time too, considering Tarmogoyf used to be the absolute king, right? 2 mana to get you sometimes a creature as big as a 6/7 was a huge deal. That card single-handedly spiked the cost of Future Sight boxes quite a bit. Now, it got just reprinted recently in a Fallout deck, and that copy of it's worth maybe $5-6. Tarmogoyf has massively fallen, but regardless, we have this Goyf theme that's going on in Magic the Gathering. You have the Graveyard Overdrive Goyf deck. That's how it basically has positioned to all of us. You've got the face commander, Disa. This is what sets the tone. She cares about Lurgoyfs, has abilities keyed to Lurgoyf. So you go, oh, this must be a Lurgoyf deck. And then you go and you count it up and you're like, so how many Lurgoyfs do we have in this deck? 7. Oh, wait, just 7? This isn't a regular standard deck or something else where you can play with 4 copies. So the main commander for my deck cares about Lurgoyfs, and you only have 7 Lurgoyfs in the deck, and only like 3 of them are new? This is the worst tribal concept that has ever been created. So it's unclear whether they originally had another commander as the face of the deck and they were like, oh, this is like a graveyard theme matters, and Lurgoyfs fit into a graveyard theme. But then at the last minute, they decided to go, well, actually, you know what? We're going to make Disa the face of this deck, and we're going to like go, hey, Lurgoyfs. I remember when I saw the different Lurgoyfs, I thought it was neat. I went, okay, cool. We're getting a range of different Lurgoyfs. I've always loved the flavor of them from back in the day. But ultimately, this is a massive failure, on top of not even including Tarmogoyf. Yes, they do have a Tarmogoyf nest that makes Tarmogoyf tokens, but they didn't include Tarmogoyf. And when you look at the deck, it's just like, were they literally so afraid of giving away $5 extra of secondary market value that they just went ahead and said, no Tarmogoyf in there? And I can't even tell 100% if that's what they did, because the whole thing smacks of a lack of care. The commander decks really do feel half slapped onto this. Like, maybe they weren't originally planning on going with commander decks. Maybe they were going to try and bring out some modern decks, but then realized they didn't want to give up that much reprint equity. Because if you didn't hear, Rosewater said the reason that we didn't get modern decks to go with the Modern Horizon set is because we weren't willing to pay enough. Considering that it cost them like $1 to make those decks, they're going to turn around and be like, you're not willing to pay enough based on the secondary market of the deck, so you get commander decks instead. But let's be real. Commander has squatted over all of Magic, and Modern Horizons is, I mean, they slipped up and called it Commander Horizons, and it definitely has that vibe. There's no denying that there are certain cards in there that are way powerful and absolutely will affect Modern, because the main driving goal of Modern Horizon set is supposed to be, we're forcing rotation into your non-rotating set. But they couldn't help themselves by cramming a whole bunch of Commander nonsense in there. And speaking of Commander nonsense, that's where the false advertising comes into play. So, I'm going to put up what Wizards posted on their website talking about specifically the collector commander decks, all right? And it says that each of these commander decks will feature 13 new to Magic extended art cards. So that got a bunch of people excited. Like, okay, cool. Not only are you giving us a special foil treatment, they really lean into the Halo foils like those were supposed to be something special, because they go, check it out, these are unique foils that are just like Halo foils. And it's like, are Halo foils really that exciting? But regardless, they said there's 13 new to Magic extended art cards in every one of these collector commander decks, except guess what? That's not true. When it comes to the Eldrazi commander deck, the 13 cards that were supposed to be extended bordered just aren't. They just went, they're not. And so they had they had a little video where they were talking about the Eldrazi, and they went, okay, so here's the thing. These Eldrazi are not actually going to show up different in the special collector edition. So understand, collector's edition is supposed to have these extended. So if you buy the regular commander deck versions of these from Modern Horizon, you don't get these extended. So the only thing that make the collector ones stand out is that they're foil and that they have these extended cards. They didn't even do double-sided foil tokens. You know, they do double-sided tokens with a lot of the commander decks now. They're like, no, we're just going to do single-sided foil ones now because we're greedy like that. We don't want to give you too much. So, with the extended situation on, I believe it was a Twitch stream, I went and listened to it like 3 times because I bet you, did you really just say this? They said that the Eldrazi won't feature this in the collector booster because their boxes are transparent. So it's like their art is extended already. And it's like, no. You don't get to do that. You don't get to advertise the product, because there's a bunch of people talking about how angry. Yo, I ordered this because it's supposed to have special versions. You can only get this way with the extended art, and it's just not in there. And now you're saying, oh, no, but you know what? Eldrazi don't get extended borders because Eldrazi show you all the art normally because you can see it through the text box. So that counts as extended border. And you go, that's interesting. Let me ask you a question then. How do you explain this, right? Take a look on the screen right now. This is Azlask. What is he? He's an Eldrazi. Do you notice anything about him when you look at him? Oh yeah, he's got extended borders. Now he's not in the deck this way. He shows up in collector boosters this way. So Wizards of the Coast is literally saying, oh no, Eldrazi already count as extended. But they're lying. They're lying straight out because they've made this extended Eldrazi with the exact same set. So this is blatant false advertising where they're just turning around and going, no, man, that's just how they're supposed to be. But the fact that it's an extended one totally puts the lie there. And you can tell it's straight up. Here's the evidence that you guys are lying. So if you haven't seen what happened before when they got caught with false advertising, the biggest example of it was with the original Double Masters collector VIP packs, which were these box sets that had 4 booster packs in them and were like $150 a box. Some insane, crazy price. And actually, yeah, it was extended cards there. They had the extended borderless special variations, and they lied about what you could get. They're like, you can get 2 rare or mythic rares in each box. But you couldn't. It wasn't possible. So Wizards of the Coast had to scramble and set up this program where if you sent them in the UPC code for one of those VIP boxes, then they would give you 2 free collector boosters in the, please don't go to the authorities about this. We're hoping you'll just accept this as payment for this scenario. It's not the biggest payout they've had to do. I think that actually had to do with the Mythic Edition fiasco, which was absolutely insane and resulted in people being sent toothbrushes as compensation by accident. That was one of the most hilarious things that ever happened with Magic screw-ups. But regardless of the fact, they have been caught out with the false advertising, and they do need to offer some kind of compensation for it, right? Obviously, it's not acceptable to straight up lie to us and hope we buy the lie. No, the Eldrazi count is extended because you can see through the cards. It's like, you've never referred to them that way. But obviously, when we bring in the extended Eldrazi that you've printed in the same set, you're fully caught out, right? So Wizards of the Coast is just, they're making too much stuff and they don't care enough. They're not spending the time to put care into the product. Like I said in the last video, they're literally doubling up on using flavor text. Magic the Gathering is swirling down the drain, and Wizards of the Coast is just like, we don't gotta worry about nothing. Card balancing, actually printing things the way that we say we will? Nah, everything's Commander. We can do what we want and charge you whatever prices. This is the most expensive set that Wizards of the Coast has ever released. And yet here we are with multiple glaring issues with it, right? So it's understandable why people are unhappy. But that wraps up everything I have to talk about today. A reminder again that we'll be opening up some Modern Horizons 3 and probably talking some smack on Wizards tonight over in my live stream on my other YouTube channel. You're more than welcome to join me. A big thank you to all of my patrons for supporting my channel. You guys rule. And I will see you all, my friends, in the next video or tonight's live stream.